Common Magician here with a follow-up to the Guess the Method trick, this Queen of Spades trick that we just viewed. A few things about it. It operates on a principle we're going to talk about here called a Hofzinser card. And I've never talked about this before, and I've never really experimented with these. I've kind of been aware of them, but I never owned one or used them in any way, and we'll talk about that in a moment. I do want to just kind of clear the air a little bit first. You have obviously some equivoque going on, which you're going to see if you know anything about the magician's choice tactic. You know that my questions are forcing something. Now, I'm not forcing everything. There actually is some selection that can be made, and the one straight-up selection that is made is the very first one, and that is on the suit. So what you can have in this trick, the way I have it organized, is you could have a queen in any suit. And it's organized in such a way and set up that it wouldn't be very difficult to, on the fly, have a materialization on the blank card in any suit. And I'll talk about that here in a moment, how that works. Now, if you want to make this a little bit cleaner in terms of the handling, you could get that narrowed down to 2 possible suits. And you would have to have some equivoque to get the spectator either to reds or blacks. And then you can, from there, do hearts and diamonds being one side of it, or spades and clubs being the other side of it. I thought it was better if there was at least some real choice in there to kind of throw people off and make them less aware that they're getting caught up in some, false choices here. Also, I just want to point out, some of you will probably, I don't know, I've made this a tutorial after or before I've seen any comments. So some of you may raise that there are some effects that are like this already in terms of the equivoque choice to narrow down to one card, and they are revealed in some kind of interesting way. I know that, but this is a very, very old technique, and it's just a simple matter that very few people, when doing card equivoque, operate on the fewest number of questions possible. Usually, the questions that are asked are far too many. You have odd numbers, even numbers, and you have to have a false choice there, and you have I don't know, then picture cards and number cards or whatever. But usually there's way too many choices. It's a lot easier if you take it to really just 2 questions that are equivoque. And the 2 questions that are actually a magician's choice in this is the number and picture card choice, which is a force to get to pictures, and then the ladies and men choice, which is to get them to the queen. So those 2 choices are equivoque. The suit choice is not. There are actually 2 cards in the deck that we're working with, which is why you have to have a deck. In my presentation, you can't just pull a card out and do it this way. Now, if you had one extra question in there about the suits, you probably could do this with 1 card in hand, and then you could just have the card in your wallet and do a reveal in this way, and that would play just as well. I mean, it would be just like any other card from wallet, single prediction kind of thing, and it'd be even more spooky. But if you do have an equivoque choice on black and red, which I'll talk about in a minute, I actually have a question for you that you can use. You could narrow this down to just a single card that you're carrying around. Very quickly about Hofzinser cards, though. What I did is I took the idea of a Hofzinser card, which is what this is. This is a bicycle card, a 6 of diamonds. And it looks like a 6 of diamonds, but if we turn on a light here, and if I turn this over on its back, so we're looking at the back, that 6 of diamonds will look like a 9 of spades. So you'll see the 9 up here in the corner, and then you'll see the spades figures on there. This really only works with the bicycle back and the red bicycle back. You can't really do this with anything else. There might be some other card patterns that you can do this with, but it would have to be red, and it needs to be pretty busy on the back. And the reason being because that the red ink from the front of the card will disappear into the red ink of the back of the card, leaving only the center layer, which has the spade markings on it, to show through. So this looks very convincing from the back. It looks like one card. And this can be used as a switch, by the way. People don't know that you're not actually able to see through cards. Cards are actually supposed to be completely opaque. So this is a real blank card. It's actually a gaff that I made, but you can see that light does not shine through a real card. There's a layer of glue in the middle that is black, and that's on purpose so that light can't shine through cards. You're not supposed to be able to see through playing cards for obvious reasons, to keep the game secure. But you can see here that this is a special one where you can see through it, and there's sandwiched in there a layer that has another card on it that is a black card, and you can see that. Now, the interesting thing about B cards is that the pattern on the back being consistent and not very busy, like on the bicycle deck, you can actually start to see not only the black ink shining through it, particularly from the face where we have a blank card here. You can see that actually quite well, and this is giving away some of the method. On one side I have the spade, Queen of Spades, and on the other it's a split card. On the other side is the clubs. So I have spades and clubs on one card, and then I'm actually using a second card in my deck, and I have to do a bit of a switch if necessary that has hearts, and you can see that the red ink on the B back and with the blank face shows through actually quite well. You can see that heart with a bright enough light. And I have hearts on one side, I have diamonds on the other. So with one card I can get to either a revelation of the Queen of Hearts, or if I turn the card around, a revelation of the Queen of Diamonds. Or if I'm using the black one, I can use a revelation of the Queen of Spades, or a revelation of the Queen of Clubs. And it's just a matter of getting the proper card out there. Now, the way I do this is I have my spade and my club card underneath my heart and diamond card. I think it's probably true that people, particularly ladies, will go towards the red color, and they'll usually pick the hearts anyway. And hearts are just more popular, I think, ungender biased, if we are to kind of categorize the choices that people make. Hearts are probably the most commonly selected. Spades might be second, but hearts have, I think, a little bit of an advantage. So what I do is I put my red card on top with my hearts and diamonds. And then I have a mark on the top corner. I took a red Sharpie and I just filled in a little piece of the pattern right in the top corner. And this indicates that it's my red card and that this is the heart side. So if I have my card facing this way and I see my mark down here, I know that it's the red card. There's one mark, and my heart's down here, my diamond is up here. So I have it set up so I can get from that marking the orientation and the suits that are on this card. For the spade club, I have a mark on the corner and then another mark on this corner, so I know that it's the black one. And the spade, I know, is on the side with the marks, and then the club is on the side without the marks. So at a quick glance, I can look at my two and I can know which one is which. So I start with my heart one and diamond one on top of the spade and club one with the markings away from me. And I say in the presentation that I have one unique card, which is a blank card. And you can see from my light just went out here, so I apologize for that. The lighting probably changed on my video. I can present here that the blank card is here, and then I can talk about the deck and how I have different suits, different numbers. Now once I have them pick a suit, and I made it imperfect on the video, so I had to do a little maneuver. If they say hearts or diamonds, the next thing I can do is I can just deal off my card, and then I go back and talk about numbers and face cards. And I can turn this face up and it can be in view. So in retrospect, the spectator thinks that they were looking at this card the whole time, but really I had to make one selection before I dealt it down to the table. Now, if they say spades or clubs, I'm going to have to do a second. Now, the nice thing is that being that it's a B deck, which makes it easier for this ghosting Hofzinser card, The fact that it's a B deck means that I can do a second deal much more openly and slowly, and I don't have to be very clean about it. All I have to do is push off my top card, and then I can just strike second deal my secondary blank, which has the spades and the clubs on it. So I can push off, and I can do what we call necktie the deck, which means I bring it up towards my body as if I'm bringing it up towards my necktie, towards my chin. And I can give the spectators a bad angle there as I deal off my spade and club. And this can clear pretty sloppily with this B background. You don't really see that it's coming from the second. So if they pick spades or clubs the way I have it set up and the way I'm doing it, I can second deal off that card and then continue on. Now, the questions very quickly. Spades, hearts, diamonds, clubs is a legitimate question. I say, please choose one. They choose it. It's straight up good. Now, from the onset, they should feel like they have real choice because I gave them exactly what they asked for. There wasn't anything fishy about it. Now, the second question goes to numbers and face cards, and I explained what those are very briefly. Now, I took a little bit more time on this video. The truth is, when you're working with real people, you go a lot quicker. But I say numbers or face cards, I want you to choose one for me. Now, the reason why I say please choose one for me is that if they say number cards, I can say, okay, great, you chose number cards for me, which leaves you with the face card. So it's a little bit of a setup there, and that's how I would present it. So if they say number cards, I would say, okay, so you've chosen number cards for me, that leaves you with the face cards. Now, from the face cards, we have 3 types. So that's the way I get them to face cards, one way or the other. If they say face cards, I say, thank you, we'll go with the face cards then, that's fine. We can move on with that. So the question again is, please select for me the numbers or the face cards. The next question, the third question, has to do with narrowing down the face cards to the ladies and the men. Now, taking 3 groups and turning them into 2 means that I only have to ask one more question. If I had 3 groups that I'm dealing with, that's 2 separate questions that I have to deal with to get to the end. So, ladies and men, and the question that I pose is, which one do you want to set aside? Now, that's a very ambiguous question. What does it mean? Set aside for what? I don't know. So they can set aside any one that they want. If they say women, I say great. So we have the queen of spades is what we settled on, if the spades is what they chose for their suit, and it's nice and clean. If they say men, I'll say great, we'll take the men, we'll set them aside. We're left now with the queen. So 2 ambiguous questions that are in there. One good straight-up question, what suit do you choose? First ambiguous question, face cards and numbers, which one do you want to give to me? That can be narrowed down by either giving me the number cards and leaving you with the face cards, or giving me the face cards, and that's what we go with. And then ladies and men, which one do you want to set aside? If it's ladies, great, we have the ladies, we'll take them aside and we'll work with them. If it's men, great, we'll set aside the jacks and the kings and we're left with the queen. So equivocate to get yourself down to a queen in the suit of their choosing. And then the reveal is simple. You just want to cover over the corner that you're not using and shine the light on the corner that you are using, and it's a good reveal. So a Hofzinser card. I think I'm going to do a special tutorial on these cards and how to make gaffed cards. So I made my Hofzinser card and I made my blanks. I'll talk about how to make blank cards, how to make double face cards, how to make double backer cards, how to make a Hofzinser card. And there's a little bit different procedure for each one. And really how to make any gaff card you want. If you have a color printer, there might be a way to make your own card. A little unique procedure that I've come up with for making a non-embossed face that is still somewhat protected and glides somewhat well with other cards. So there you have it. Guess the method trick, that's how this one works, and hopefully we'll have a tutorial in the near future talking about gaffs. So good luck with this, and I wish you happy magicking.